Hey, I'm Dawn, and welcome back to ARC Reviews. And today's ARC is Swift the Storm, Fierce the Flame by Meg Long, and this comes out on the 17th of January. If you are new here, hi. If not, welcome back. And usually how I do it is I will give an overview of the book, I will give my personal rating, spoiler-free, I will give my spoiler-free review, I will talk about what I did not like, I will end on a positive note and talk about what I did like, and then I will go into spoilers, but I will let you know when I give spoilers so that you will not be spoiled. And I will basically tell you if this book is something that you should read. This is about Remy. This is Remy right here. And she is on the run. Also, she is looking for her friend that was taken from her during a botched assassination attempt, and she is trying to find the person who took her friend and find her friend and try to get away from the people who are hunting her, which are the people who train her to do the things that they want her to do. And so she finds the person she's looking for and she goes off to find her friend. I'm trying to be very vague here, obviously, if you can't tell. I gave this book a 2. I did not like anything about the book. I might even lower it to 1.5. I think the only thing I possibly liked about it was the idea was kind of interesting, but the execution, woof. So let's get into it. This book was not great. First of all, look at this cover. What does this cover say to you? What genre? Ooh, look, I can do this. What genre do you think this book is? I'll wait. If you said fantasy, you would be wrong. It is science fiction. It's science fiction. This is not a science fiction cover. This is a fantasy cover. So I thought I was going to get a fantasy. It's not. I don't read synopses. I just go, Wednesday books usually have pretty good stuff. The cover looks okay. That's usually what I do. I was like, okay, well, let's go. This looks interesting. I'm gonna read it. And I thought it was a fantasy, and I'm a fantasy reader. El problema numero uno. Secondly, well, actually, let me say this first of all, before you make the mistake that I made. That is a book 2. This is a book 2. Nowhere on here does it say this is a book 2. On the back, it doesn't say, read the exciting continuation of Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves. Doesn't say that. It just says praise for Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves. On Goodreads, it doesn't say number 2 next to the title. So I'm thinking this is a number 1. This is a number 2, folks. Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves is number 1. However, either Goodreads fucked up, or this is meant to be a standalone. So in other words, you don't have to necessarily read Cold the Night in order to understand what's going on here. I think that was the attempt. Didn't do a good job of it. I actually didn't even know that this was a book 2 until like 3 days later when I did my notes for this book. I was starting my notes, I was going through my Kindle, and I was accidentally on the acknowledgement page, and it said she's saying sequel. It's hard to write sequel. And I was like, what does she mean sequel? She's not a debut. She wrote a book already. She's not a debut. She's a debut if this is a book 2. I don't know. I don't know. Let me know if you know. I don't know what this book is supposed to be. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because even if it was a book 2 and it said book 2 on Goodreads on the title, it still would have been shit. So let's get into it. The world. Oh my God. Okay. So a lot of this is making sense now. The world, first of all, was info dumped. And it was written in a way where it was as if the author was like, I'm just going to assume that this reader has read book 1. I'm not really going to go into the world because they already know what's up. I'm not going to really explain it. I'm just going to recap really quickly. And that's what she did. Now it makes sense why she did that. However, if this is supposed to be a book that you do not have to read the first book, if this is a standalone in a series, then there still shouldn't have been any info dumping. That is not okay. You have to be thorough with your world building. You can't just like vomit your world in the first page, and that's literally what happened. I knew something stunk when I read that first chapter. I was like, whoa, this is a lot of info dumping. Now I know why. So although I said I was a fantasy reader, I do read some science fiction. I watch science fiction. You know, I watch Doctor Who, and I do watch like time travel and, you know, just general science fiction stuff. And so I do know canon. I do know science fiction canon. And this book did something that I have never seen before, and I don't ever want to see it again. So she used the word planet, but she also used the word world. On this world, blah, blah, blah. There is an edge world. I'm going to go to this world. Now, for me, as a science fiction enthusiast, when I hear the word world, to me, that means multi-dimensional storyline. If you're going to another world, you're leaving this dimension and you're going into a new one. Totally leaving it. You can't just get on a ship and go to a different planet and now you're in a different world. Like, that's not a thing. At least for me, that's not a thing. Maybe it is for you. For me, it's not a thing. A planet and a world are two different things. But this author seemed to use it interchangeably. And I'm like, if I live on Earth, which I do, and I get in a spaceship, and I go to Mars, I've just traveled to a different planet. I haven't traveled into a different world. That means I've gone through dimensions. Like, I didn't like that at all. I was really confused. I didn't like that at all. She didn't explain it. I didn't like it. This book also has a very strong theme of like corporate greed, but it was very surface level. And once again, the theme was surface level, but she didn't explain anything. She's just like, this corporation wants to be the leader of this edge world, whatever the hell that means. And so we're going to put this person in power, but we don't want this person in power. We want to usurp this person and put somebody else in power because of, I don't know. I never really understood the whole corporation greed thing. And it's really odd to include that into a science fiction book. I'm like, she was making it out to be like Amazon versus Google. I'm like, it just wasn't explained. Perhaps if it was done well, it could have been different and interesting, but it wasn't explained at all. Maybe it was explained in book 1, but that's not my problem. That's the author's problem. It's her responsibility to explain the world. If this is a standalone in a series, if this is book 2, that's my bad. That's my bad for not reading book 1 and not knowing the world. But she wrote this as if it was like book 5 in like Throne of Glass. And I'm just fully versed in this whole world that Sarah J. Maas has built, and that I don't need to like refer back to book 1 or 2. I have been immersed. That's how she's writing this book, and I have not been immersed. Once again, this did not say this is a book 2. This is not my fault. It doesn't say book 2. It looks like it's a standalone. So, not my fault. I take no blame for that. Another thing that this book does, which is fucking stupid, is that in this world, every 2 weeks, there is a huge storm that affects infrastructure. And when I say a big storm, I mean like she made it seem like it was a Category 5 hurricane every 2 weeks. That makes no sense. Who is going to live on a planet that has a hurricane of Category 5 hurricane every 2 weeks? They're going to leave. And she's made it seem like in this world, you can just get on a ship and go. It's not like I live on Earth. On Earth, there's a hurricane every 2 weeks. Sorry, can't go to Mars. Got to grin and bear it. No, she makes it seem like you can just travel. She makes it seem like you can just move. Like I'm moving from Illinois to New York. That is not a thing. That is not plausible. Every 2 weeks? No. She's just like, oh, people have their house built on stilts. But when the big storm comes, it like the wind is so bad, it just like wipes everything away. Who's going to rebuild every 2 weeks? Nobody. Nobody's going to do that. That makes no sense. No sense. So me, as a logical thinker, is like, okay, well, if you have to live here, you have no other choice than live underground. And as I kept reading, there are people who live underground, the lowlifes. The lowlifes live underground. Wouldn't they be the smart ones? Because they're underground. But they still live in a slum. But why wouldn't you just move underground? It's science fiction. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't have to be logically sensible. Because a storm every 2 weeks makes no sense. So there are people in the book, obviously there are characters. And the way she talks about the author, the way she talks about these characters, she's just like, that's Linda over there, and she's the main lady of the blah, blah, blah corporation. Meanwhile, Dexter is trying to take over for Linda. And she's talking about these people like I know who they are and like I care who they are. I don't. You have not built your world. I don't know who these people are. I do not care. I don't care about Linda and Dexter. And the way she's writing it, I'm supposed to. And then, see, this kind of makes sense. So there's a character named Senna, and at the first chapter we meet Senna, and she is like longing for her grandma or something. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then as the story progresses, she meets another character who's like, oh, I know your grandma. And she's just like in tears. And clearly, as the reader, I'm supposed to be emotional. I'm supposed to be like, oh my God, she found her grandma. But I'm just reading this like, am I supposed to care about her damn grandma? What? And so now there's another separate storyline about her wanting to know where her people are. And I'm like, am I supposed to care? This was just totally dropped in out of nowhere. No, it wasn't dropped out of nowhere. It's in Cold the Night, Steal the Wolves. The whole book is about Senna. Well, that makes sense. Why I felt like it was just dumped on me, because there's a whole book one that's all about her. And she kept talking about this race. I had to enter this race. She made it seem like, I think it's in Alaska where they go on these like sled races with wolves. She made it seem like there's this race, and she kept talking about this race in the tundra, me and Senna and the damn dog Wolf, we had to do the, and I was like, what is she talking about? Why does she keep talking about this race, and why do I care? I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's relevant to the story. It's in book one. It's in book one. That makes sense. Once again, if this is a standalone in the series, it should be explained. It's not my problem. I shouldn't have to read book one to know that and care. Now that I've thoroughly decimated the world, let's talk about Remy, the main character, Remy. In this world, and when I use the word world, I mean the world that the author has written, Remy is genetically altered to basically be a spy. So these companies have spies. There's one overarching company, let's call that Google. And Google is keeping track of all the other companies, so let's say Walmart and Amazon. And Google has engineered people to be like super spies and to infiltrate and to not get emotionally connected to anything, to be good fighters and, just be emotionless super soldiers. I don't think they necessarily have strength or anything like that, but they look like humans. So that's what Remy is. She's engineered by Google. But it's never really explained if she was born from a human and then they injected her with super juice, or if she was grown in a lab and looks humanoid, which would make her an android. I never was quite sure if she was an android or if she was more human and not robot. I never understood any of it, and that's important because it's talking about the classic theme of, can robots have feelings like humans do? Because at one point she's like, I don't know if the emotions I'm feeling are human or genetically engineered. She doesn't know. I didn't either, because the book didn't really explain it. So I was really confused about what she was. However, she is, okay, so here is the story. Google sent her down to Amazon to become part of the security detail, pretend to be a part of security detail for Bezos and his daughter. So she has been hired by Google to be a spy on Jeff Bezos and his daughter. And she has been, her mission is to pretend to be Jeff Bezos' daughter's bodyguard. But they want the CEO of Walmart, let's say his name is Bob, to take over Amazon. So they're trying to get rid of Jeff and implant Bob to take over. But I don't know if she falls in love with Bezos' daughter or if they're just friends. I wasn't quite sure. She never really said it. It doesn't really matter. She just really felt a connection to this girl that she has been like guarding for 2 years, and then the plan went awry, and then she's trying to find her. I had to go for a second. I think my lipstick is gone because I had to wear a mask, so just ignore it. So she never really explains what kind of love it is. It doesn't really matter. That's not the point. But the point is the theme wasn't really explored of if she's genetically engineered, have the robots gained intelligence? Has she learned how to have emotions? Because she's not supposed to. She's supposed to get in there, do her job, get the hell out. But that theme isn't explored, and that is a classic theme when you are dealing with like any kind of engineered person or robot or android or something. It was just a waste. So here's another plot hole, or just bad writing, I don't know. But okay, so in this world, once again, the world of the book, the characters, their currency isn't paper or coins. It's like scanning. They scan and they could purchase things. If you recall, Remy is on the run from Google. She's on the run. And she's trying to hide. Granted, this is a trained spy. Her specialty is intel. She's supposed to get in there, get the information, get out. Kaboom. That's her specialty. She's been trained a lot for years to do this. Keep that in mind. This girl scans to buy hot dogs. Just scanning all over town. We have that too. It's called credit cards. You can track someone when they scan their credit card, or the cell tower pings when they use their phone. This girl is a trained spy. Yet she hasn't figured out that they can track her by scanning. And that's not how they find her. I don't even think they find her that way. That's how bad the writing is, how illogical it is. They don't even find her by her scanning to purchase hot dogs. I'm like, that makes no sense, writer Meg Ryan, no sense. Once again, if you recall, she's a trained spy. She's a trained spy. Every time she follows people, they catch her, or they knew that she was following them the whole time. In the entire book, she's just telling me as the reader, I'm the best at my job. I'm great at my job. Excuse me, author Meg Long. You can't just tell the reader that your character is the best. You have to show it. And you show it by her not getting caught every time she follows someone. That to me says she sucks as a spy. If I'm supposed to believe that she's just this like confident, awesome, competent spy, that's like Jason Bourne being caught every time he does something. As the moviegoer, I'm not gonna be like, oh man, Jason Bourne is awesome. I'm gonna be like, oh man, Jason Bourne sucks at his job. He's not a good spy. Remy was insufferable. She all she did the entire book. I gotta find Laura. I gotta find Laura. That's Jeff Bezos' daughter. I gotta find Laura. I gotta find Laura. Got her caught. I didn't protect her like I was supposed to. Oh my God. I gotta find her. I gotta find her. I gotta find Kieran because Kieran knows what happened to her. Blah, blah, blah. That's all she talked about. The entire book. All she talked about was Laura. It drove me insane. We'll come back to that in a second. And then Kieran is the guy who was her partner. And when shit went down with Bezos and Laura, Bezos' daughter, Kieran did a little switcheroo. He took Remy out of the situation, dropped her in the jungle, was like, peace out to you, I'm dropping you here. And he took Laura away. And then she somehow got taken from the jungle and sent to a different planet. So she's coming back to find Kieran. She doesn't trust Kieran, and she keeps telling him that over and over and over again. And she finally finds Kieran, and all she does talk about Laura. And finally he says to her, if you would take your head out of your ass for 5 seconds, you would realize that this whole operation is bigger than Laura. I stood up and clapped. I was like, thank you, Kieran, for saying what all the readers are gonna say when they read this shitty book. What I've been saying. Can you please stop talking about this girl for 5 seconds? Oh my God. And another thing she did is she kept mentioning to Kieran, you betrayed me, you betrayed me, you betrayed me. And he explained. He was like, look, I had to do that to protect you. He said this to her at least 4 times. But she kept bringing it back. I can't trust you. You betrayed me. Finally, he was like, oh my God. How many times do I have to tell you I did that to protect you? Now, you know, in these types of books, there's always some double agent shenanigans going on. Always. And you know that. I knew from the beginning when she was like, Kieran dumped me in the jungle and left me to die. Ugh. Me as a reader who has read these type of books millions of times, I'm like, that's probably not what happened. He probably saved her life. Of course he did. Of course he did. We've read these books a million times. Of course he did. And she just kept bringing it up and throwing it in his face. And I was just like, oh my God. I almost threw my book across the room. She did it one more damn time. And I was just like, girl, I can't listen to this no more. She's one of the worst characters I have read in a very long time. She is terrible. She's annoying. She's insufferable. She's bad at her job. She's just terrible. She's a terrible character. So then, for 75% of the book, she's been talking about Laura. I need to find her. I gotta find her. She finally finds her. Not only is she talking about Laura, she's like, I love her. I like her. I don't know if it was romantic love, friendship love. It doesn't matter. She really cared about this girl. When she finds her, she's like, maybe I don't love her as much as I thought I did. You need to tell me. 75% of this book, I have to listen to you talk about this girl only for you to be like, meh. You see what I'm dealing with here? This is what I'm dealing with this book. Those were my dislikes. I have no likes. I'm gonna give it a 1.5. I liked nothing. The idea, once again, having a planet that has a storm every 2 weeks is interesting, but it shouldn't be a category 5. That makes no sense. Like maybe every 6 months or so, I don't know, but even a category 5 every 6 months is too much. Or have it like the 5th wave where now we're in a new season and this season is Ash. I don't know, but that just didn't make any sense. I like that she tried to do that, try to do something with it, but other than that, I liked nothing about this book, so I have no likes. I am going to go into the spoiler edition. It's going to be brief. And the spoiler edition, well, before I do spoiler edition, thank you for joining me. If you're not going to join me for the spoiler edition, thank you for joining me for ARC reviews. I do not recommend this book. I just don't. If you want to read a really good young adult science fiction, I would recommend Scythe or even Aurora Rising. Like, those are way better. Illuminae, I mean, I didn't finish Illuminae, but I know a lot of people liked it. Maybe Red Rising is a better series. I think that might be adult. That's not YA, but still, it's still better than this trash. Don't read this. I don't recommend it. It's not good. Don't read it. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you the next ARC review. I don't know what that book is going to be yet, but I'll catch you there. If you are joining me for the spoiler edition, spoilers start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very quick spoiler. Very quick spoiler. Because I did mention, but I just skipped to the end. I gave up at like 80% and I just like read the last chapter. But what I found out in the last chapter is that she was talking about Allura all this time, only for her to find out that Kieran is in love with her and she might be in love with him too. So fuck Allura. Allura can go to hell. And it was Lyrica, whatever the hell her name was, which I knew the whole time. I was like, this girl who took her underground, that's Allura right there. Oh, and at some point, Kieran drops in because she thought, okay, so Lyrica, whatever her name is, she was the leader of the revolution. She pretended to be just some rando, but she ended up being leader of the revolution. But then she ended up being Allura. And Kieran says, oh, she did that whole face reconstruction thing. You know, that thing that everybody does that isn't mentioned until it's convenient. Nowhere in the book did they mention about face altering. Clearly, if she had mentioned it 20% in the book, we would have been like, well, fucking duh, Lyra is Allura. But no, she mentions it right when the reveal is. Like after the reveal. Because otherwise we would have figured it out sooner. You see what I'm talking about? You see why you shouldn't read this book if you are watching this? Or if you read the book, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That's the only spoiler I have. I kind of just like skipped to the end. I didn't read some bits of it. I gave up. But I just really needed to get that off my chest. All right. Thank you for joining me for the spoiler edition of Swift the Storm, Fierce the Flame. I don't know where the flame came from. Oh, she did like bombs. Whatever. Thank you for joining me, and I will catch you in the next arc review. Bye-bye.